Hey, Slash 80 Bruce. How the heck are you? I am Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer. At least for the purposes of this video, I got a couple cocktails. I had an idea. I had an idea, man. I had to do a tasting at Mama Jean's, a local chain of health food stores. And I was looking at some of the bulk stuff, and I was trying to come up with ideas for different syrups, simple syrups, come up with different cocktail ideas for both home and work. And I picked up some marshmallow root to do like a marshmallow root simple syrup, just a little vanilla to it. So I came up with two cocktails using that. One an old fashioned and one sort of a Manhattan. I took some liberties. So, anyways, I'm going to show you what I've got here. All right, make sure everything was working there. So I'm going to start with the old fashioned first. Now, we're going to call this one a Bear Claw old fashioned. So I used the same whiskey for both of these cocktails. I used the Hard Truth. See if I grab this without making a mess here. You're not going to work very well. The Hard Truth French Oak Harvest Rye. It's a sweet mash, straight rye finished in toasted French oak. It is in collaboration with Mellencamp whiskey. It is at 104 proof. I don't think it gives me the exact match bill. I'm curious. It does not. I was curious of the exact percentage of rye, but it doesn't show me. Anyways, I'm gonna set that down a second. So what I did with this one is 2 ounces of the rye. Oh my god, it's delicious. That's the first time I tasted it, actually. I just had the idea, put it together. So anyway, 2 ounces of the rye, 1 ounce of my marshmallow root simple, and then a couple dashes of about 3 dashes of toasted almond bitters. So I'm calling this a Bear Claw old fashioned. As you can see, I've used a cherry and a cinnamon stick. Gosh, that's delicious. So as I was there in the store, I asked the AI app because they had both marshmallow leaf and marshmallow root. And I tried to explain to it what I was doing, so which product would be better. And then it basically said it kind of depended on what you were looking for. But as I asked deeper, more insightful questions, it led me to believe that it was probably the marshmallow root would be better for what I was trying to do here. And again, it's not going to give you the exact flavor of what we call a marshmallow today. But you do certainly have that essence. And then I wanted to add just a little vanilla to bring it home. But then I started thinking about, okay, I want to make that syrup. I want to use some rye, but what cocktail? So I started tinkering around with different things. And I came up with two very distinct ideas, but using very similar products. I thought, well, I have the toasted almond bitters. And if I wanted to go deeper, if I wanted to go deeper into that almond, I could have added some amaretto to this. But I was curious with just the rye and the marshmallow root simple, what it was going to give me. And this is really freaking delicious. Gosh, that really is good. I've been a bourbon drinker for the longest time. I grew up a bourbon drinker. In my 30s, I had a from about 30 to 40 something. I was really deep into Irish whiskey for the longest time, and then I started gradually. And of course, there was a little, little dalliance into Scotch as happens. But then I went back to American whiskeys, bourbon specifically, but a lot of small distilleries start popping up. So yeah, a lot of American whiskey variants, a lot of corn whiskey, and then now really the American single malt category has just really gotten insane in a good way. So I am calling this an old fashioned. Some of you might take umbrage that I'm serving it straight up, if you will. Although if you look up the origins of the drink, straight up is closer to traditional than the big cube would be. Because when this drink was conceived way back when, big ice cubes really were unheard of. Some places use some shaved ice or crushed ice to kill the drink, but in many cases it was served straight up in a coupe. Whereas the ice cube is, let's say, 21st century. I'm drinking more 19th century because I like my old fashioned, old fashioned. Let's just say it just came to me like a flash of genius. I digress. Oh, gosh, that is nice. I wasn't sure, right? I wanted to buy that. I just bought a small amount, actually, of the marshmallow root. But then when I actually, you know, smelled it, I said, oh. But then when I made it, once you add the sugar, and then with the marshmallow root, the sugar, and then the hot water, and it all comes together as a simple. Oh, okay. Then I got it. You did definitely get that marshmallow essence. Then I added that little bit of vanilla, and it got me a little closer to what we call a marshmallow today. But yeah, it kind of gives you that kind of herbal marshmallow essence. Let's just say. Boy, I do like that. But I think one of the reasons that I prefer a straight up cocktail to a big cube, because millennials always want that big ice cube in there. I think they're wrong, but the way I think the main reason I like it this way is this way is that snapshot, right? I want that drink a very particular way, especially that I'm going for a very specific flavor profile right now with that marshmallow simple. And even though the melt is slow with the big cube, there is going to be some melt. You're going to add water. It is going to dilute. Even if you're using the best of cubes, whether they be square or spheres, you are going to get some meltage in there, meaning that drink is going to change on you. This way, it is not. It will warm up a little bit. I mean, assuming it doesn't take you 30 minutes to drink the damn thing. I mean, it isn't going to warm up, but it isn't going to get room temp. So the flavor I've got once I got it in the glass is the flavor I'm going to maintain all the way through. And even though I've now been talking for over 10 minutes, this drink is it feels as cold as when I started. I mean, if you do everything correctly, your drink is going to remain cold enough. What I mean by that is make sure your glass is chilled. Pour your cocktail when you make sure your cocktail is good and chilled before you pour it. Some places, if you're selling a lot of a very specific cocktail, will batch them. So then you pour the cocktail. You already have it cold, but you're going to pour it over ice, and then so it's going to remain cold. But I've had this conversation with a few younger bartenders, and there's a couple that really get it. There's one particular place I like to go, and he knows when I order an old fashioned, I want it straight. And he knows when I order a Manhattan, I don't want a fancy. I don't want. I don't want that cherry displayed in a fancy way. I just want it dropped in the bottom of the glass because that cherry does me no good up here. It helps down here. It's always nice to find a good bartender that understands you. Remove that cinema stick while I finish this up. As I switch to cocktail number two. Now, typically I would have this remaining chilled, but I had to take some pictures before I started. So I just kind of left it there, and it's kind of an experiment to see how cold this one stays. Now it's been up there for 10 minutes, right, or 12 minutes now. And I'll be damned if that still isn't extremely well chilled. So this is my fireside Manhattan. Let me show that to you. Similar garnish, the cherry and the cinnamon stick, the exact same whiskey. But what I did different here is I did use a half ounce of that marshmallow root simple. But to make it a Manhattan, I also used a half ounce of sweet vermouth. And well, I was going to say that's the only difference, but that's not quite true. The other difference is the bitters. Whereas in that one, I use the toasted almond, and this one, I use black walnut, which is why I'm going with Fireside Manhattan for this drink. So even though the ingredients are very similar, this one drinks quite different. Again, that one had a full ounce of that simple syrup. This one only has a half ounce, but it also adds a half ounce of sweet vermouth, which really changes the game. There's a nice dry finish. You feel a little bit of that marshmallow simple. And although you might not think it would, it does blend well with the sweet vermouth. I like this. I like this a lot, man. I would love to be able to serve this. Gosh, that's a nice cocktail. I'm typically I'm typically a Manhattan purist. I really am, but boy, I really like this. I like that old fashioned. But the main reason I always claim the Manhattan as my favorite cocktail is it's not as sweet as an old fashioned. But here I've got that combination where I've added that additional sweetener and a little bit of that sweet vermouth. And I love that combination, man, especially with this particular rye. Damn. Damn, I like that a lot. That's nice, man. Oh, wow, that's good. So, why am I not worried about this drink warming up? I've been talking now for almost 16 minutes, and it's been sitting up there the whole time. Because as I drink this, it is still cold. You might not believe me, but it is. And again, it's all about doing everything correct up to pouring the drink in the glass. Is it ice cold? No. But here's the thing: I'm using fine ingredients, right? I'm using a fine whiskey. I've got a homemade simple using raw sugar. So I'm using great ingredients, right? Here's the thing, right? It's like beer. Craft beer doesn't need to be ice cold. Why? Because you're using great ingredients. Why does cheap beer need to be ice cold? Because you're using cheap ingredients. You want to, if you drink it cold, it will hide the flaws. But I'm not trying to hide any flaws here because everything I'm using is top shelf. From the whiskey to the simple to the sweet vermouth, everything I'm using is top shelf. So even as this warms slightly, because it is still cold, it's not ice cold, but it's still cold. Even as this warms slightly, it's not. It may be changing slightly, but in some ways it's getting better because now I'm really tasting everything. If you're using fine ingredients, you don't need everything to be ice cold from start to finish. I guess is my point. But boy, I haven't used black walnut bitters in a while. Why? Because well, it's warm. Black walnut bitters to me is kind of a fall ingredient. It's the first time I've used them in a while, and I forget how much I like them. And that's really what's helping to dry up this drink is those black walnut bitters because you feel them right at the end. You feel them in the aromatics, but as far as taste, you go, oh, black walnut with the this and then the marshmallow and anyways, that's why I call this a fireside Mad Hat. So I'm going to remove that cinnamon stick while I finish because it makes it hard to drink, man. It makes it hard. I'm going to take the cherry out too. Put it over here off to the side. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all around good guys. Lunch. Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you tuning in.